This self-described Vietnamese lesbian has some important advice for her fellow Asian Americans and other people of color that she needed to share on TikTok. So I'm just passing it along to you.
If you have a token white and you're hanging out with your friend group of color, you need to ask permission from everybody in the group to bring your white friend. Like, don't just bring them. Ask for explicit permission from everyone. Because just because you're comfortable with them doesn't mean that everybody's comfortable with them. I might not be in the mood to deal with white shenanigans that day. That's all I'm saying. And another thing, it feeds into their ego. Like, don't let them think they're a good white person. Don't give them that card to use against other people. Please don't do that.
It makes him feel like a good person because they have non-white friends. Well, I mean, I guess she is right in a sense because that's how liberals actually feel. But this lady is a complete lunatic. Of course, if a white person posted a similar video like this online, urging others not to bring any black people around their group of friends because they might not want to deal with their black fragility or black grievances. Of course, that person would be doxxed to be the top trend on Twitter. They'd be kicked out of school, fired from their job. But this girl spewing her anti-whiteism will face zero consequences whatsoever. Meanwhile, this professor at the University of California, San Diego, has a very unique way to fight racism.
What's up, y'all? Dr. Purity here, and I'm going to talk to you a bit about how to decolonize a classroom and how I decolonize my teaching.
Decolonize, of course, is a code word for diversity and anti-whiteism.
So, first things first, we do not grade over here, okay? Anyone who takes my class automatically gets an A. They're told in the first week that they're going to get an A. The only thing that's required is attendance, and I have weeks of excused absences built in so that if people are sick or they have family
Or if they want to just stay home and scroll through Instagram all day.
obligations, it won't affect their grade.
Of course not.
So since I'm not grading them, I'm just giving them A's. Like, how do I know that they're doing anything? And how do I know that they're learning anything? And so I also don't give homework. Surprise, surprise. And I run a discussion style classroom. So
Of course, all she wants to do is have the kids show up, attendance only grade, to just listen to her spew her nonsense. And I guarantee you that it's a cultural studies class. I'll do a whole other video on Christmas craziness over the next few weeks, or actually, I'm sure multiple videos because there's going to be a whole lot to cover. Things like this children's book called The Real Santa, which reveals to the children that the real Santa is black. And with daylight savings time having come to an end a few weeks ago, it's obviously getting darker earlier. And according to CNN, that is having a disproportionate impact on black people. I know this could be a satirical article from the Babylon Bee, but CNN has been taking a significant market share from them. Daylight savings time sheds light on lack of sleep's disproportionate impact in communities of color. Growing evidence suggests that lack of sleep and sleep disorders such as obstructive sleep apnea remain more prevalent in Black, Asian, and Hispanic or Latino communities. Well, what about the Latinx people? And these inequalities have long-term detrimental implications for physical health, even raising the risk of certain chronic diseases. You know what? If this will help pass a bill to make daylight savings time permanent so we don't have to change the clocks forward and back every 6 months, every single year, even though we don't even know why we do it, I will support these people. I never thought I would say this, but yes, changing the clocks every year is racist. It's time for it to end. And you may have heard recently the NHL put out a diversity and inclusion report, and they found that the sport is racist. So they have the HDA, the Hockey Diversity Association, trying to get less white people to play hockey. And they even have their own flag right there, which to me looks pretty racist. It looks like aside from trying to convince black people to play hockey instead of basketball, they're also looking to recruit some Native Americans by adding a red stripe into their diversity flag. And look, there's a yellow one in there too. I mean, what's next? Are they going to start recruiting transgender players too? Oh, wait, what's this? It's the first all-transgender hockey tournament, which was a success. Team Trans is considered the world's first ever all-transgender hockey team, featuring notable professional hockey players, including Harrison Brown and Jessica Platt, at competitions in recent years. The official NHL Twitter account posted some photos saying that they were proud to support this past weekend's Team Trans Draft Tournament in Middleton, Wisconsin, which, of course, is a suburb of Madison, the liberal cesspool of the state. well, I guess aside from Milwaukee, saying that this is the first tournament comprised entirely of transgender and non-binary players, with around 80 folks participating, even non-binary players. Somebody mockingly responded, "So men playing on women's team?" And then the NHL responded, "Trans women are women, trans men are men, non-binary identity is real." And speaking of non-binary people, those are people who have chosen no gender as their gender. They're not a man or a woman, they say. Something that even people on the Jerry Springer show back in the 1990s couldn't even come up with. But Joe Biden employs one in a high-level position in the Department of Energy, probably working on a nuclear reactor, who wears high heels and women's clothes, but doesn't identify as a woman, identifies as neither, who was just arrested for felony theft for reportedly, I'm sorry to show you these photos, they're terrible, I know. He was just, I'm sorry, you can't call them an it, that's considered to be dehumanizing. That's a violation of the thought police policies. So this carbon-based life form allegedly stole a $2,000 suitcase from the luggage claim at an airport recently, and said it was just a big mistake. Of course, he probably saw that Louis Vuitton expensive luggage and stole it. Still has a job, though. Of course, not fired. And you can see here he is. I'm sorry. Here, this person is this carbon-based life form posing with the other transgender person, Rachel Levine, in the Biden administration. Two peas in a pod. This is their official government photo from the Department of Energy. Could you imagine hiring this person for anything other than starring in a horror movie? Speaking of B-list actors, Alyssa Milano is complaining on Twitter about people making memes about her, mean memes, tweeting directly to Elon Musk asking, "Is this the freedom of speech you want? How about copyright infringement? Is that fine by you too?" Thankfully, the community notes feature, which is a crowdsourcing fact check on Twitter, pointed out that certain copyrighted material may be used without copyright express permission from the copyright holder for purposes of commentary and ridicule. And Elon has revoked the ridiculous COVID misinformation policy on Twitter, which would automatically tag people's tweets with supposed fact checks or censor them or suspend or ban users for posting certain facts that the CDC just hadn't yet come to admit, or for asking questions that they didn't want people to think about. And one of the only cases, if not the only case, of somebody suing Twitter after they got banned and winning and getting their account restored was a man named Alex Berenson, who is an author, and he was posting information about the coronavirus and the pandemic and vaccines. And either the CDC hadn't come to admit that the information that he was posting was true yet, or Twitter didn't update their fact checks to sync with the CDC's latest information. And so he sued and actually won. But unfortunately, totally different situations when people get banned for posting supposed hate speech, because the courts rule that whatever they say they consider to be hateful then counts. But since they said that they were posting or using the CDC's fact check system and he violated it, there was some contradiction in the system that they were using and what he was actually posting. So he surprisingly actually won. And of course, the liberal media and the Republican establishment continue to complain about President Trump having dinner with Kanye West last week, who brought along one of his friends who the liberal media has dubbed the new David Duke. Here's Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell.
First, let me just say that there is no room in the Republican Party for anti-Semitism or white supremacy. And anyone meeting with people advocating that point of view, in my judgment, are highly unlikely to ever be elected President of the United States.
Things didn't go as well for Don Lemon, however, when he invited someone on hoping that they would pile on against President Trump.
I'm proud of our record on many issues, including issues related to the Jewish community and the Jewish state of Israel. I'm also a refugee from the Soviet Union and a grandson of Holocaust survivors. So I experienced systemic anti-Semitism directly and personally, which is why my family sought refuge in the United States. So, I can tell an anti-Semite when I hear one. And I can tell you with confidence that President Trump is not an anti-Semite. He also has this very strong record on issues that concern the Jewish community. I mean, we can start with any number of things like making it tougher to discriminate against Jewish students at college campuses.
Okay, sir, I understand that, but can we talk about Nick Fuentes, please?
Sir, this isn't why we brought you on. Of course, when Barack Obama was running for president, nobody in the liberal media dared to show or even acknowledge that this photo exists of him cozying up with Louis Farrakhan, the leader of the black supremacist Nation of Islam, probably America's most famous anti-Semite. No Democrats called for him to denounce Louis Farrakhan or apologize for this photograph, so Republicans maybe need to take a couple of pages out of the Democrats' playbook and stop apologizing for things all the time. And by the way, your family may want an apology from you if you happen to wear a Trump Claw sweatshirt to Christmas dinner this year, which you should order from my online store at markdice.com or click the link in the description below. Like all of my designs, it's available in a t-shirt, long sleeve, and a hoodie, and a nice sweatshirt, and a whole bunch of different colors as well. So head on over to markdice.com or click the link in the description below and check it out.